Today, we'll explore how you can use Knack to build online databases and web applications that are fully customizable without writing a single line of code. If you need to create an online database, Knack makes it incredibly easy. In this video, in partnership with Knack, we'll build an online invoice system for my favorite company, the Kevin Cookie Company, step by step. And you're welcome to follow along. We'll set up a database to track customers and invoices, and then we'll also make it so customers can log in to a portal to view and also pay their invoices. By the end of this video, you'll have all the skills you need to create CRMs, customer portals, purchase order systems, or just about any other app that your business needs. Let's dive in. To get started, head to the following website. You can click on a link right up there in the top right-hand corner, and I've also included a link down below in the description. On this website, create an account. You don't have to provide any payment information to sign up, and you can also use it for free for 14 days. Once you finish signing up, you'll land here in the main Knack interface. And right up on top, we have a few different options for getting started. Over here, you can generate a new app with AI. You simply type in a prompt, and then Knack will create an app. Over here, you can start with a template. And when I click on this, you'll see some examples of the different types of templates that you can create. One of the nice things about starting with a template is you could kick this off, and then you can go in and customize the template to your specific needs. Right up on top, I'll close out of this. And over here, you can also import your own data and start from that. In this video, we'll start completely from scratch. That way you understand all of the fundamentals of how to use Knack. Then you can always start from a template in the future, and you'll understand how to customize it to your needs. In the top right-hand corner, let's click on this button that says Create New App. And down here at the bottom, we see an option for Start with a Blank App. Let's click on that. I want to build an invoice system for the Kevin Cookie Company. We sell our cookies to retailers all over the world, and we need a way to keep track of whether those retailers have paid us for our cookies. Also, customers need to be able to see their open invoices, and they need to be able to pay for those invoices. Let's build this. This drops us into a brand new app. And if you look around here, there's not much here yet. And the reason why is we chose to start from scratch. You might be wondering, well, why don't we start with a template? Or why don't we use AI to kick off our app? By starting from scratch, you'll learn all of the fundamentals. And if you choose any of those options later on, you'll know how to customize your app. So you might be wondering, well, how do we start building our app? And right here in the center of the screen, there's a very prominent button that says Add a Table. What is a table? A table is a structured way of storing data. And ideally, it should all be about a specific topic. We're building an invoicing app today, and I want to invoice customers. So I think it would probably be a good idea to have some type of table that stores all of our customer information. Right here, let's click on Add a Table. On this next screen, you have a few different options to help you create your table. You could import existing data. Maybe you have a comma-separated file, an Excel spreadsheet, or even a Google Sheet. Right here, we could also start from a pre-made table, or we also have the option for a blank table. Let's click on blank. On this screen, I could give my new table a name. So down below, let's get rid of the name new table. And here, I'll type in customers. And then down below, let's click on save. We're making good progress. If we look in the top left-hand corner, you can see that we've now added our first table called customers. If we look over on the right-hand side, we can see all of the different fields for this table. Now you might be wondering, what is a field? Think of a field as columns in a spreadsheet. Or what type of information do we want to know about our customers here? And currently there's one field in this table called name. And that's great. We want to know the name of our customers. But there's also more information that we need to capture. For example, what is the customer's email address? Or what is their address? Maybe we want to send them a holiday gift. Or what is their phone number if we need to call them about an order? We also want to capture all of that information. And to do that, we're going to add additional fields. Right up here, there's a button that says Add Field. Let's click on this. This opens up a pane over on the left-hand side, and you can see all the different types of fields that we can add to this table. Now, I mentioned we also want the email address, and right down here under Personal, I see a field for email. When I click on that, I can define all of the different attributes for this field. For example, is it required? Does it have to be unique? And down here, I can also type in a description. But this all looks good to me, so over here, I'll click on Add Field. Over on the left-hand side, I can also drag the different fields in. I'd also like to know the address. Over here, I'll press and hold, and I can drag over, and let's place that right under email. And there it's now added that field. And I'd also like to add the phone number. So right down here, I'll press the Shift key and then click. And that's a really quick way to add different fields to your table. I could add additional fields, but I think for now, this is sufficient. In the top left-hand corner, let's click on this back arrow to go back to the tables list. This drops me back into the main data view. I would also like to track information about all of the open invoices that we have here at the Kevin Cookie Company. And it's related to customers, but it doesn't really fit into this existing table. I think I'll need to create another table that keeps track of all of our invoices. So right up on top, let's press the plus icon and we'll create another new table. We see the same set of options again. Over here, I'll click on blank table, and for the name, let's call this invoices and then click on save. This drops us into another new table. Right up on top, let's click on add field. This opens up the fields pane over on the left-hand side. And first off, I think every invoice needs a unique number associated with it. That way, if a customer calls about an invoice, we know exactly which one they're talking about. And here I have all these different types of fields. And right here within the number category, there's the option for auto increment. This way, every time we create a new invoice, it'll automatically increment the number. That seems like a good idea, so let's click on this. Here, we can set the attributes for this field. Now, currently it's called auto increment, but let's change that name. I'll call it invoice number. The data type is set to auto increment, and here I could type in a description, but I think this looks good, so let's click on add field. Right up on top, we can see that we've now added a field for the invoice number. Right up above that, I see that we have another field for the name, but I don't need a name for the invoice. Over on the right-hand side, let's click on these three dots, and right down at the bottom of this list, we can click on delete. Click on that. And here we can confirm. Click on delete. Let's add another new field. Over here, let's click on add field. I'd like to keep track of the due date. So over on the left-hand side, let's go down to the date category and then click on date time. Up on top, I can give this a name. Let's call this due date. And I'd also like this to be required. I'll check that. All these other settings are fine, so let's click on add field. Along with the due date, I also want to keep track of how much they owe us. Over on the left-hand side in the number category, there's a field for currency. Let's click on that. This opens up the currency attributes. Right up on top, let's rename this amount due. It's a currency and it's also required. Down below, these other settings look fine. Let's click on add field. I'd like to add one more field, and I'd like to use this to keep track of whether this invoice is still open or whether the customer has paid the invoice. Over on the left-hand side, there's an option under choice for yes, no. Let's click on this. This opens up the attributes. Let's start by giving it a name. Here, I'll call it paid ? Down below, I can select the label. So yes, it has been paid, or no, it hasn't. Down below, I could also set the default. By default, anytime we generate a new invoice, it hasn't yet been paid. So I'll set it to no. Also, do we want to require yes? Well, an invoice could also be unpaid, in which case it's no, so we don't want to require this. And at the very end, we could also select the input type, drop-down, radio buttons, or checkbox. You can only ever select one state, either paid or not paid, so I'll select the radio buttons and then click on add field. Now that I've added all the different fields to this table, I think I would actually prefer to see the amount due before the due date. Luckily, it's very easy to move your fields around. I'll simply press and hold on the amount due, and here I can pull it right up above the due date. That looks better. We've now finished creating the second table, but there's no connection between the customer table and the invoices table. And ideally, I'd like to be able to answer questions like, for this specific customer, what are all of their open invoices? And to do that, we have to connect these two tables together. How do we do that? Well, over on the right-hand side, we have a section for connections. Let's click on this plus icon. This opens up a dialog, and I can choose what table I would like to connect invoices to. I'll click on this dropdown, and right here, I'd like to connect it to the customers table. I'll select this and then click on next. Before we can connect these tables, we need to define the relationship. And right down here, we can set this. Each invoice connects with one customer. That's right, if you have an invoice, it ties back to one particular customer. And right down here, each customer connects with many invoices. And that sounds right too. Here at the Kevin Cookie Company, we strive for customers to order on many separate occasions with us, in which case one customer may have many different invoices. This relationship looks good, so down here, let's click on Add Connection. If you've ever worked with databases before, you'll probably appreciate how easy that was. You don't have to worry about concepts like primary keys. It automatically handles connecting those two tables. In the top left-hand corner, let's now jump back to the main data view. Now that we have the tables in place, next, I want to set up the user roles. I want staff here at the Kevin Cookie Company to be able to see all of our customers and all of their invoices, but I want customers to only be able to see their invoices. For that, I need two separate user roles. Within the data view, there's a category for user roles. Let's click on the plus icon. I'll call the first role employee. Right up here, I'll type employee and then click on add. Let's click on the plus icon one more time and let's add another user role for customer and then click on add. Perfect. Over on the left-hand side, we can now see that we have two new user roles. As a quick housekeeping item, let's remove the tables and the user roles that we're not using. Right up on top, there's a table called Table 1, and I'm not using this. I'll click on this dropdown and let's click on Delete. And over here, let's confirm the deletion. Let's do the same thing with the user roles. Here's example role 1. I'm not using that. I'll click on this dropdown, select Delete and confirm. And let's do the same with example role 2. Click on Delete and let's confirm that. We've done a nice job establishing the structure of our database. We've added our tables and we also have user roles. But now we need to populate data into those tables. And to do that, we need to add what's called records. Over on the left-hand side, let's click on records. We now need to select the table that we would like to add records to. Let's start with customers. I'll click here. Each customer will have its own individual record. So YT Restaurants, they order a lot from us. That's one record. Acme Grocery Stores, that's another record. To add a record, we have a few different options. Here, I can manually type in a record, or we can also bulk import in records. Let's start by manually adding a record. I'll click on this. On this screen, I can now type in all of the customer details. Let me do that. I filled in all the details, so in the bottom right, let's click on Submit. Right up on top, I can now see my first customer record. Let's try importing some more. Right up on top, let's click on Import. To bulk import, you can simply drag and drop an Excel file in, or you could also upload a Google Sheet. Here's a quick preview at what my Excel spreadsheet looks like. Over here, I have the customer name, the email, and their address information and their phone. Ideally, you'll want each column in your spreadsheet to align to one of the fields that you have in your table. I'll minimize this, and now I can drag and drop the file in. Over on the left-hand side, I can now see how Knack maps all of the columns in my spreadsheet to fields within the table. Right up on top, I have the name column with all the customer names, and it looks like it wants to feed it into the name field. That looks good. Over here, the email looks like it mapped that correctly. But here for the address, it wants to create new fields. And I already have an address field, so I don't want to create a new one. So let's see if we can map that correctly. I'll click on this dropdown, and here you have the option to create a new field, but I want to map to an existing field. And right here, I have the option to map to existing. And right here, I already have a field called address. These other ones are grayed out because they're already being mapped. So let's map it to address by clicking on this. Right over here, I see text that says use the address field when your file has the related data in separate columns. My spreadsheet has the address, the city, the state, the zip, all in separate columns. So let's see if we could help Knack understand what columns should go where. I'll click on the street address. Now I need to select the column in my spreadsheet that has the street address. Right over here, I see the street address. I'll select that. Let's do the same for the city. Let's do it for the state. And lastly, let's also do it for the zip code. If I go all the way to the bottom, I also have a column in my spreadsheet called phone, but it looks like it correctly mapped that to the field called phone. So I think now all of this looks good. Over on the right-hand side, I can also preview all of the data in my spreadsheet and how it's mapping it. I think all of this looks good, so in the bottom right, let's click on Next. On this screen, I could either update an existing record or add a new record. These are all new customers, so let's click on Next. Here, I can confirm my import and also define what happens if there's an error. I'm fine with the default. Let's click on Next. Right up above, I can see that it's successfully imported all the customer details. It's well worth putting time into the mapping stage just to make sure that all your data is imported correctly. Let's now add some records to invoices. Over on the left-hand side, let's click on the invoices table. And currently we have no invoices. So let's click on add record. This opens up a dialog where we can now add a new invoice record. At the Kevin Cookie Company, we have fairly aggressive payment terms. We give 2 weeks. I'll select October 31st. Down below, I can enter in the amount due. They ordered a lot of cookies. It's $5,000. And here I can indicate whether it's been paid or not. It has not been paid yet. And I could also select the customer. Remember, we connected the customers table to the invoices table. Down below, I'll select YT Restaurants and then click on Submit. And look at that, we've added our first invoice record. Like I've always said, there is money in the cookie business. Of course, having this data in the database table is good, but I also want to notify the customer about this invoice, preferably by sending them an email reminder. We can do that very easily through Knack by using something called tasks. Right up on top, let's click on this icon. Down at the bottom, let's click on this button that says add a task. First, let's give this task a name. Up above, I'll type in email customers about outstanding invoices. And here I can define the schedule. I find that the more we notify customers about their open invoices, the quicker they tend to pay. So I will leave it set to daily. All these other settings look good. I'll click on next. On this next screen, I can define the action, and you can take all sorts of different actions. Here, I'll click on this dropdown. You can have it update a record, a connected record, or even insert a connected record. But in my case, I want to send a custom email. I'll select this, and then this exposes some additional options. First, I need to define when this email should be sent. So I need to add criteria. I'll click on this, and I want to send it anytime an invoice is unpaid. So here, I'll click on this dropdown, and this shows me all of the different fields in the invoices table. And there's the field for paid. I'll select this, and it says paid is no. So if it's unpaid, I want it to send out an email. Next, I need to enter in the email address that it'll come from. I'll enter in my email address. Then let's scroll down just a little bit, and here I need to define the recipient of this email. This is one of the really neat things. You can use the different fields in your tables. So right here for the to, I'll click on this dropdown and I could use my email field. I'll select this. Here it's finding the email field. That looks good. Next, let's update the subject. I'll remove this text and let me type in invoice, and then I'd like to reference the actual invoice number. And what's really neat is you can leverage the different fields. Over on the right-hand side, let's click on this dropdown, and here I see all the different available fields. And one of them is the invoice number. Let me select that. This now inserts a dynamic value. So it'll say invoice, and then it'll reference the actual invoice number. That's cool. And let's also add some text that says is due on, and then I want to insert the due date. And just like we did before, let's click on this dropdown, select the due date, and that too is also a dynamic value. Lastly, let's fill in the message. And just like we saw with the subject, here too, you can also leverage the different fields in your text. Once you're finished typing in your message, click on Save Task. We have now successfully added our first task. If I click on the task, I can go back and I can make modifications to it. And right over here, we can also click on the history and you can see all the run history, or if you'd like, you can also run it right now. Maybe that would compel customers to submit their payments earlier. Just kidding. We'll just wait until the daily flow. Right up here, I'll click on the X. Now that we've built our databases and added some records, it's time to take a closer look at how everything is structured. To do that, over on the left-hand side, let's head to the data model view. This is where you can see a full layout of your database. Here you can move around. You can also zoom in and out. You can see all the different tables. Here I have my invoices table, my customers table, and you could also see all the associated fields within those tables. And you could also see any relationships between your tables. Think of this as a bird's eye view of how your data connects and also flows. Personally, I think it's a great way to ensure that everything is organized properly and also to help you see if any adjustments are needed. Next, we're going to build the front end, or the interface that customers and employees at the Kevin Cookie Company will use to access the invoice system. In the top left-hand corner, let's click on the back button. To allow people both within and also outside of your organization to interact with your database, we need to add what's called a page. Over on the left-hand side, let's click on Pages. I'd like to build 2 separate pages, one for employees to be able to see all of the different open invoices, as well as to see some reporting about how much revenue is coming up. Then I also want a page for customers to be able to see all of their open invoices. Let's start by building the employee dashboard first. Right up on top, let's click on this plus icon. And here we could decide what type of page we'd like to add. I want only employees to be able to access the employee dashboard, so let's add a login page. Next, we need to choose who can access this page. So let's click on this radio icon to limit permissions, and in this dropdown, let's select employee. We added this user role earlier. I'll select this and then click on continue. Next, we need to give this page a name. So right up on top, let's highlight this, and I'm going to type in employee dashboard. Then let's click on add page. This drops us into a brand new page. And over on the right-hand side, we can see the page, but there's not much there yet. We need to build out the page. Over on the left-hand side, we can add different views to this page. Right up on top, we have a category for record views. This allows us to show different records from our tables on the page, and you have different ways that you can present those records. Here we see a few different options. You can also add static views. So you can add a menu or just rich text to the page. Down below, you could add different reports, and you have a few different options. And at the very bottom, you can also add e-commerce capabilities to, let's say, allow customers to pay their open invoices. Right up on top, I want our employees to be able to see all of the open invoices. So right over here, I'll click on the grid option. Here, I can choose what records I want to display within this grid. Again, I want to show all open invoices. And right here, I have the option for invoices. I'll click on this. Over on the right-hand side, here I can see the grid and I see all the open invoices. We just have one open invoice right now. I also want employees to be able to go in and edit this. Let's say, for example, if the customer pays, I want the employee to be able to come in and then update the status. So over on the left-hand side, I want employees to be able to edit each record with the form. I'll check that. And over here on the right, you see that there's now a link to be able to edit this. This all looks good. Let's click on continue. On this screen, I'll stick with the default name of invoices. And then lastly, there's an option to link to this grid from a menu. I want the invoices and the grid to just show up on this main page, so there's no need to link to it. Right down below, I'll click on add grid. In this last pane, I have a few different options that I can use to adjust what's shown within the grid. For example, which records should I display? I could add different filters or column summaries, and down below, I could even choose which columns to display. I want to make one tweak. Right up on top, I'll click on source, and here I can filter the records. I only want to show open invoices. So here, let's click on filter, and let's click on this dropdown. So right down below, I'll click on paid, and I want it to be no. So if an invoice has been paid, it won't show up on this view. I only want employees to see the open invoices. Down below, I'll click on save. If I need to edit this grid again in the future, over on the page, I could hover over, and right up above, I have these different options, and I can click on this icon to edit the view. I'd like to add one more view to this page. I'd like to give employees some way to visualize all the different invoices that are coming up. Right up on top, let's click on add view. And here again, I see all the different views that I can add to the page. Let's scroll down, and down here at the bottom, we have different reports. I'd like to add a line chart. Let's click on this. For the line chart, I'd like to visualize all the invoices coming up. So right up on top, let's once again click on invoices. Let's give this line chart a name. Here, I'll call this upcoming payments and revenue. Down below, let's click on add report. I can now tweak all of the different chart properties to get this visual to look exactly how I would like it to look. Right up on top, first off, I need to decide how I would like to group the data. I'll click on this dropdown, and here I have lots of different options. I want to group it by the due date. So right up here, I'll select the date. If we go down a little bit more, I can decide what I would like to calculate. I want to see the revenue by date. I'll click on this dropdown, and I have the option to show the amount due. I'll select that. Down below, I have lots of other options. I have filters. I could also adjust the layout and design. Again, you could use all these different options to get the visual to look exactly how you would like it to look. In the bottom right, let's click on Save. Over on the right-hand side on the page, now I can see my visual. Here, I see all the different invoices that are coming up. So it looks like on October 31st, we have about $5,000 coming in. It's not bad. Let's go back to the top of the page. Now that we've built this page, I'd like to test it out. And over on the right-hand side, we have the option to preview this page. But before I do that, I'd like to add some user accounts. Remember, we added some user roles, but we haven't yet added any accounts. Over on the left-hand side, let's click into records. I'd like to start by adding a new employee account. On the left-hand side, you'll see all the different user roles that we set up. Let's click into employee. And over here, we can see that there are no employees added yet. We need to add an employee record to the employee table. So right up above, let's click on add record. Here, I can now fill in all the details for this employee. I'll do that. Now that I filled in all the details, down below, I'll click on submit. Right up above, I can now confirm that we've added a new employee user. This is great. Next, I'd also like to add a customer user. Before we can do that, I need to connect all of the customer users to the customers table. So why do we need to do that? Well, I want each customer to only be able to see their specific invoices and not invoices from other customers. To do that, over on the left-hand side, let's click into data. Within data, down below, let's click into the customer users user role. I'll click on this, and over on the right-hand side, we can make a connection with one of our tables. I'll click on this plus icon. I'd like to connect the customer users to the customer table. Right over here, it is currently on customers. I'll select this, and then let's click on next. On this screen, I can define the relationship between all of the customer users and the customer table. Here, each customer user connects with one customer. And down below, each customer connects with many customer users. Basically, each customer can have many different users. That all looks good. So down below, let's click on add connection. Now that we've connected those, we're ready to add a customer user. Right up on top, let's click on records. And over here, let's now add the first user by clicking on add record. Let me go through and fill in all the details. I've now filled in all of the details. Because we connected all the customer users to the customers table, down below you'll notice that there's a new field with customer, and I can indicate what customer this user belongs to. Here I have all my different customers, and Lee works for YT Restaurants. I'll select this option right here, and down below, let's click on submit. Now that we've added some user accounts, let's now test out our pages. Over on the left-hand side, let's click back into pages. Here we can see the employee dashboard. Let's test this out. In the top right-hand corner, let's click on preview. Because we set this up as a login page, to be able to see the employee dashboard, you'll need to type in the user credentials. I've typed them in. Down here, let's click on sign in. This drops us into the employee dashboard, and right up on top, we can see all the upcoming invoices, and down below, we can also see a report of when revenue is expected to hit. And one of the neat things too, I can click on this edit button, and this allows an employee to come in and then edit whether the invoice has been paid or not, as well as other details. Up on top, I could jump back. Hopefully you're starting to see some of the incredible power of Knack. We built a login page, we added different user credentials, and then we're exposing data from our database on a website that other people can access. That is incredible. In the top right-hand corner, let's click on Stop Preview. Let's now build a page that customers can access to see all of their open invoices. Over on the left-hand side, let's click on this plus icon next to Pages. And here too, we also want this to be a login page. Let's click on this. Here, let's select limit permissions to specific user roles. I'll click on this, and then let's click on this dropdown. And let's select customer users. Then let's click on continue. Let's give this page a name. Here, I'll type in customer invoices and then click on add page. This will be a very simple page. I just want customers to see all of their open invoices. Like we did earlier, let's add a grid. I'll click on this. I want customers to be able to see their invoices. I'll click on invoices. This is a very important step. Here, I can define what invoices each customer can see. Of course, I don't want a customer to be able to see all invoices. I only want them to be able to see their invoices. So right here, I'll select this second option. Invoices connected to the same customer connected to the logged in customer user. Remember, when we created a customer user account, we connected that with a customer. So that way, when that user logs in, they'll only be able to see their invoices. Down below, let's click on continue. We have a few additional options, but I'll leave them all as is and then click on continue. Lastly, I can give this view a name. Here too, I'll also call this customer invoices and then click on add grid. Next, I see a few options where I can define what records are shown within this grid. I'm fine with the defaults, so up on top, I'll click on back, and this brings me back to the main page view. We're now showing all of the invoices, but as a next step, you can also offer the capability for customers to be able to pay. Right up on top, click on add view. And within this pane, we have all of our different views, and down at the bottom, we have some e-commerce capabilities. First, you'll need to set up a payment method, and then you can add a view that allows a customer to pay. This is beyond the scope of this video, but I did want to call out that you have some incredibly powerful functionality here to be able to accept payments. Right up on top, Let's click on back. Let's now preview this view for a customer. Over on the right-hand side, let's click on Preview. Down below, I'll type in the user credentials and then click on Sign In. In the logged in view, Lee can now see all of the invoices for YT Restaurants, and he's only seeing invoices for this customer because he's associated with YT Restaurants. Up on top, let's click on Stop Preview. We now have the core of the invoicing system running, but I would like to make some additional tweaks. In the top left-hand corner, you'll notice that this app is currently called Untitled App. We need to give it a better name than that. So here, I'll click in and let's highlight this, and I'll type in the Kevin Cookie Company invoice system. That sounds very official. On the left-hand side, let's now click into Settings. This drops us into User Settings, and there are lots of different settings that you can configure. I'll highlight some of the main ones. Up on top, let's click into App Settings, and here again, you can modify your app name. Down below, you'll also see the app URL, so someone can navigate here to access your app. Over on the left-hand side, we can also customize the design of the app. Now, this is just the default design, but you could go through here and you can modify everything to get it to look exactly how you would like it to look and also to align with your brand. I'll click on back and then back again. If you want full control over the look and feel, down below we could click on API and code. And here you have API access. You can also add custom JavaScript and also CSS. So this way you can get everything to look exactly how you want it. Congratulations, we now have the core application running, but our finance team wants all invoices to be automatically added to a Google Sheet. Now, one of the great things about Knack is that it's an all-in-one solution that includes the capability to build connections and also automate data between Knack and hundreds of other core applications and services that you use every day. It's kind of like having Zapier-like functionality directly in Knack. Let's use the built-in Flows tool. To access the Flows tool, over on the left-hand side, let's click on Flows. Let's click on Create Flow from Scratch. This drops us into a new flow. And first, we need to add a trigger. This is what's going to kick off this flow. Let's click here. First, we need to define where the data is coming from. I want to take data from Knack and bring it over to Google Sheets for our finance team. I'll click on this dropdown, and here I can select the source of the data. Right up on top, I have Knack. I'll select this, but keep in mind, you have many other options where you can retrieve data from. I'll select this. Next, I need to choose an event to trigger your flow. Every time we add a new invoice, I want to add it to the Google Sheet. So over here, I'll click on this dropdown, and there's an option for record created. When we create a new invoice, that's also creating a record. You also have other options as well. Let's select this one. Next, I need to select my Knack account. I'll click on this dropdown, and let's go with the second Kevin Cookie Company invoice system. I'll select this. Next, we can also select the tables that we would like to use. I want to add invoice data to the Google Sheet. And right up here, I have the invoices table. I'll select this option, and down below, let's click on Continue. Next, we need to define what happens with the data when a new invoice is added. Right here, we could add the action. Let's click on this. We can now define the action. Right up on top, first we have to indicate where we would like to transfer this data to. And when I click on this dropdown, here too, we have many different options, and this list keeps going. It's extremely extensive. I'd like to add it to Google Sheets. So here, I can simply type in Google and then Sheets, and there it found Google Sheets. That's a very quick way to get to the app that you would like. I'll select this option. Next, we need to select the action that we would like to perform. So we have the Google Sheet, and what do I want to do with it? Well, I'd like to add a new row with the invoice details, but here too, you have lots of different options. Let's select this first one to create, update a row. Lastly, you'll also need to connect to your Google account. Over here, I'll click on this dropdown, and here, let's add a linked account. I'll stick with the default name for this connection and then click on Continue. On this screen, I need to enter in some additional parameters. Down below, I can select the spreadsheet that I would like to write this data to. When I click on this, I see all the different spreadsheets in my Google Sheets account. Down at the very bottom, there's a spreadsheet called the Invoice Tracker Finance Team. That's what I need to add it to, so I'll select this. Now that I've selected a spreadsheet, down at the very bottom, I can also select the sheet. And here, I'll select sheet 1, and then in the bottom right, let's click on Continue. Right up above, let's click on Continue. This opens up a screen where I can map all the different fields from my invoices table to the different columns within the spreadsheet. Let's have a quick look at the spreadsheet before I fill this out. I'm in Google Sheets, and up on top, you can see that I'm in the Invoice Tracker Finance Team spreadsheet, and down at the very bottom, I'm currently in sheet 1. The finance team has requested that every single time we generate a new invoice, that I should add the invoice number to column A, the due date to column B, and the amount due to column C. Once I add that information, they'll add in the expense, and then they'll automatically calculate the total profit. Let's now work on getting this information populated into this spreadsheet. Back within Knack, first, I need to specify what information I would like to place into column A, or the first column. I'll click on this text field, and down below, I can see Knack record created. I'll click on this, and here I see all the different table fields from the invoices table. First, I want to bring in the invoice number. I'll select this. Then I'll click into column B, and let's click on this again. And here I'd like to bring in the due date. And lastly, I also wanted to bring in the amount due. I'll click on this, and right there I see the amount due. And I don't need to bring in any other information. That's all the finance team needs. In the bottom right, let's click on Save. Now that we've created this flow, in the top right, let's click on this button that says Start. And look at that, the flow is now on. Let's close out of this. Let's now test this out by adding a new invoice. Over on the left-hand side, let's click on Records. Then let's make sure that we're in the Invoices table. And up on top, let's click on Add Record. This opens up the dialog to add a new record. And I've opened up Knack side by side with Google Sheets so we can see this in action. Right up on top, I'll select a due date. Let's go with the 31st. Then I could enter an amount due. They ordered a real lot of cookies. And last, I could select the customer. Let's go with Quick Bite. And then down in the bottom right-hand corner, let's click on Submit. It's now added the record into Knack. And over on the right-hand side, look at that. The data flows through almost instantaneously. Now that we have this data in Google Sheets, the finance team can come in and they could do some quick analysis or ad hoc calculations or even more complex financial modeling functions. Over on the left-hand side, let's click back into Flows. Within Flows, up on the top tabs, let's click on the one titled History. Within History, I can see a log or a record showing me every single time this flow runs. When we added that new invoice, that triggered the flow. So over here, I can see that Knack sent data to Google Sheets and it inserted a new row. One of the neat things, I could also click on this text and I could check exactly what Knack sent to Google Sheets. Here I see all of those details, the invoice number, the due date, the amount due. If I close out of this, I could also see the exact information that it added to the Google Sheet. I'll click on this, and here I can see what it added to column A. It added the invoice number. Here's column B. It added the due date, and here in column C, it added the amount due. I have a record now of all of the data that went from one app to the other. We looked at how Knack integrates with Google Sheets. You can also connect to financial systems like QuickBooks, messaging tools like Twilio, file sharing like Dropbox, or even popular databases like MySQL and PostgreSQL. Basically, you can tie Knack into whatever systems you're already using without needing custom code. In this video, we just manually built our own database to help you understand the fundamentals. Knack also offers a really powerful tool that we didn't look at called the AI Builder. In the top right-hand corner, let's click on Create New App and then Generate with AI. With the AI Builder, you simply describe the database and the front-end interface that you need, and then Knack automatically creates a first version of the app for you. Then you could use everything that you learned in this video to customize the app to your specific needs. You might be wondering, why did we learn the fundamentals if AI can just create it? Well, understanding how to build a database manually is key because it gives you full control over the customization, and also you get a deeper understanding of how your data is structured. But if you ever need an extra hand, the AI Builder is there to assist you. And there you have it. You now built your own custom online database with a live portal webpage. You can now use this in so many other ways, like building a time tracker, an expense system, an inventory management system, and so many other examples. One of the great things about Knack is there are no user fees. So if you have vendors or customers, suppliers, or community members who need to access your data, content, and also workflows, there's no extra charge. Let me know if you have any questions down in the comments. To watch more videos like this one, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video.